Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where for the past couple of days, I've been daily driving this 2026 Nissan Sentra SL, what is technically the second cheapest car in the USA. If you don't count the two other SUVs that are cheaper than it. It goes like this: Hyundai Venue, Chevy Trax, Kia K4, Nissan Sentra. So it is the second cheapest sedan currently on the market, starting just under $24,000. This is the SL trim, so it's the top trim, and today finished in grandma spec Imperial bronze, which looks more like Imperial salt, over gray quilted tailor fit synthetic leather. All of this could be yours for just over $30,000. Even the SL trim starts under 30 grand. This one starts just under 28,000 with its couple of options, which we'll have down in the description, does put it over 30. But this is a little bit different than the SR that we drove in Arizona at the launch event, because yes, I went to the first drive of this car. Some of you may remember that. And we went over everything that's new. We talked about this being now the 9th generation of the Nissan Sentra. It's completely new except for what's under the hood. The 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder has been retained from the 8th gen Sentra, still making 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. This still has the Xtronic CVT, though it has been retuned, which we'll talk about once we're driving, and it is still front-wheel drive only. But I think they've made this look a bit more catching, because I think from the back it looks like a Lexus IS, or at least the old Lexus IS, because they just redesigned that since my last video. But this looks like the 2025 Lexus IS from the back, and I think from some angles, it also looks like the Kia K4, the car that is slightly cheaper than this on an entry level. But today, I figured we would do a bit more than a first impressions drive, because we've already done that in Arizona, and I figured we'd show you what this is like to live with. I have to grab a couple of things from the store, so we're going to go into town, make a stop, we'll get this into a city, we'll wind it up the parking structure, and we'll talk about what this has been like to live with this week. Now, I mentioned this is the SL, it's the top trim. It's not as flashy as the SR. You don't get the body kit, you don't get the 18-inch wheels, but you do get nicer things inside. You actually get a smaller wheel, which I like. It's still on a Hankook Kinergy, which is not a great tire, but it's actually been okay for us this week in a 215/50 R17. And the car keeps locking and unlocking itself because we have proxy key. And I tried finding the setting in the menu to turn that feature off, and I couldn't find it. So that's just what we're dealing with today. I suppose it gives us an opportunity to look at the taillights, but I wanted to keep the key on me because I wanted to remote start the car. There it goes. It's absolutely freezing out. It's about 21 degrees, so I want to make this walk around quick. But the SL gets you a number of things, including the tailor fit leather inside and an option to get Imperial bronze as a color. So let's just quickly show you around this. You guys probably pretty much know the 9th gen Sentra at this point, because there are quite a few videos on it, but trunk size is pretty good. I'm so cold. This is the opposite of Arizona. Only disappointment here, opening up the trunk floor and seeing that you don't have a spare, but the good thing about this is they do give you a place to put one. I'm not sure if Nissan will sell you one as a dealer accessory, but there is quite a vast accessory catalog for this car, so I'm willing to bet that there's one somewhere. But it's a shame they don't give you one as standard, and it's even bigger shame that there's no handle to pull the trunk shut. It means you have to get salt all over your hands in the winter. See, this is the problem now. The proxy key stuff, it's only for the front doors, so you have no way to get into the back unless you go up to the front and you do that whole thing. But let's step into the back. I imagine the heat is pumping in here with the remote start. It's actually not as loud as I expected it to be, but let's go ahead and show you this back seat. Now, I mentioned this has the gray interior, but there's actually quite a few colors in here: gray, black, and blue. I love the way that this is trimmed out. And not only do you have blue on the door panels and the dash, it's also on the back of the seats, and this is kind of like a light blue / silver stitching on these tailor fit, which Nissan calls these wrinkle resistant, because real leather, that gets all wrinkled. They don't want to mess with that. They want to give you this sort of synthetic stuff, which really kind of hard to make fun of it. It feels pretty nice, and it looks pretty good too. Fold down center armrest with some cup holders, but the best thing about this back seat is how much room I have. Sat behind myself here at 5'11", plenty of leg room, and I can sit up perfectly straight, even with a camera on my head, and my head doesn't touch the ceiling. So plenty of headroom back here as well, and it's a pretty cozy seat. Nissan usually does a pretty good job with their seats, so this is no surprise. The only thing we're missing back here are some climate vents. We've got one USB-C port, and actually, look at that, no seat back pockets. So it's a little bit sparse as far as amenities go back here, but if you're just kind of in this as an Uber or something, it's got plenty of room for you, and some extra cup holders, I suppose, there on the door panel. So 4 drinks you're able to have back here. Let's talk engine one more time, because it's probably the only thing that disappointed me a bit about this car. And I know Nissan, you know, they've got a limited budget. They want to keep things as reliable as possible. And it looks like popping the hood does kill the remote start. That's okay, because we'll be able to start the car again once we're in it. But I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't give this a new engine. And I know if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but 149 horsepower. Granted, this car does only weigh about 3,100 pounds, so it's quite light. This SL trim is rated at 29 mpg city, 36 highway, and 32 combined. The S and SV trims are rated 1 mpg higher in every category, I think, because they have a smaller wheel and they weigh a bit less because they have less equipment. So if you want to be super efficient, you can spend your just under 24 grand, get the base model, and squeeze out that extra mpg. But this is kind of just like a prehistoric engine. It doesn't really do much. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated. There's not really anything that can go wrong with it. The only thing that has not the best reputation for reliability is what's attached to it, the Xtronic CVT, which they have retuned apparently for 2026. Let's jump in and we'll get ready to drive this thing. You can see you walk up and it unlocks for you, but you do have those little proximity buttons on the door handles too, for if you have that setting turned off, which I assume you can do. I just couldn't find it. Anyway, start stop button is down here on the console. And honestly, it would have been a shame not to get this startup, because the new Nissans have this very animated song playing startup, and it's in every car. You know, they don't short you out just because this is a Sentra. It's the same startup chime you get in the Nismo Armada that we were just driving a couple of weeks ago. But also similar to the Nismo Armada, we have this massive continuous screen that goes from cluster to infotainment. You've got nice amenities in here, heated steering wheel, which I'm going to turn on. My heated seat has already been activated on this haptic touch panel. All those settings make noises when you touch them. Most of what I need is here. The only thing you can't change on this is where the air is blowing. So if you're somebody that doesn't like to run automatic climate control, you have to go in here to point your vent. But if you're somebody that uses auto, you've got everything you need down here, your temperature, your fan speed, all that stuff, heated seats, and then heated steering wheel. That's all good. I think they could have put one more button to change where it's blowing. That's just me. Otherwise in here, it seems to be trimmed out all right. This has the optional ambient lighting, which we'll put a shot of in right now so you can see what that looks like at night. It's not a ton, but it does enough to kind of spruce this up when the sun goes down and keeps that luxury vibe that they're going for here in the SL trim. Super deep center console. I mean, I could fit like pretty much down to my elbow in here. That's pretty impressive. 2 cup holders, wireless charger, drive mode selector, button for auto hold, wireless charger up there, 2 USB-C ports, and we have a little bit of like a, I don't want to say Easter egg, but a bit of a continuation from the 8th gen where we had those 3 center vents. They've carried that over, but they've removed the center vent and made it into a button panel that includes a volume knob and quick access to your cameras. Now, here's what I love about this, okay? This car starts under $30,000, and in SL trim, you get a standard 360 camera. And all the other trims, you have to pay extra. I think actually the only one you can pay extra to get this on is the SR, which we had in Arizona. And the SR that we drove in Arizona was actually more expensive than this top trim SL because it had all of the options and add-ons. So the SL, I think, is the smart choice over the SR, because the SR doesn't get you any performance gains. It just has a body kit and bigger wheels, which for a car like this, who cares? You can cycle through these cameras as well. You can see these mirror cameras. and all of that stuff. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This has a Bose sound system, which after we do the sound system test, you'll see plays constant static forever. There's no way to turn it off. And that's because this is a prototype. There are a couple of things that are a little bit wonky here. It's got 2,800 miles on it. I don't know how long Nissan's going to run this, but this is probably one from the first drive event. They're still running prototypes in the fleet. So just keep that in mind. Got tan seat belts in here as well, which are already looking a little bit dingy, as is the side of the seat, but it's not wrinkled. The tailor fit synthetic leather is doing its thing. Okay, so let's get this thing out on the road and we'll go for a drive in the 9th generation Sentra. Regular old school style shifter there into reverse. Parking brake will not automatically disengage. You can see here leading lines. The 360 camera, it's pretty good quality, as is the backup camera. Nissan kind of stepped up their quality with this stuff. I always complain about how bad the camera quality is in Nissans. And I actually don't hate that when you put it into drive, the front camera doesn't automatically come on, because it means it's not getting in your way if you're trying to navigate somewhere. You have to manually pull that up. That's okay. So this has just like the new corporate steering wheel. We see this in everything. The Aria, the Leaf. Is that everything that has this? Now the Sentra. I feel like it doesn't really suit this cabin as well as the old steering wheel did, which I thought was very pretty. It's still flat bottom, but we lose the middle spoke. Now that's really not even my complaint. I feel like it looks a little bit big, and it's just not that pretty to look at. But the good thing is they've actually put physical buttons on this, as opposed to the big haptic panels that the Aria and Leaf have. So the steering wheel is at least a little bit more usable. And it does get ultra hot. You've only got one setting for the heated steering wheel, but it is cooking me. I think the sensation might be skewed because my hands were so cold, but this feels nice. And it's heated all the way around too, so good job Nissan for not cheaping out like Subaru or Mazda. Here there are simulated shifts from that retuned Xtronic CVT. It doesn't do this all the time. It's really only if you're at, I don't know, I'd say like 40% throttle or above. Just leaving the neighborhood, it kind of sits at like 2,000 RPM, especially when it's cold. Let's bump this into sport and try some spirited driving. That was flat out there to 60 miles an hour. No way to simulate gear changes with the CVT manually, I should say, but you can bump this into B. If you're on a canyon road or something, you want engine braking, you're able to do that. So I do like to see that they have kept that function, since you're not able to manually adjust anything. We're going to leave it in D here, and we'll leave it in sport, and we'll make a pass on this semi. See what performance is like there. I hope he goes to the right lane so I can pass him properly. Okay, perfect. Now, here's the thing. This is not the slowest car I've ever driven. It's one of them, but in a way, it doesn't feel painfully slow. I think because it doesn't really weigh anything, weighing in at only 3,000 pounds. That's very light for 2026. A car that weighs 3,000 pounds that has that much room in the back is pretty impressive. And I think it accomplishes this by just being front-wheel drive. There's no all-wheel drive option on this. But also, since it's so light, you can kind of use the momentum. So we can get this through the corner here. Exit a corner a little bit faster than you would in a heavier car, and it actually rotates pretty decently as well. The steering is tuned pretty well, and you can genuinely hustle a Sentra. We've known this. The 8th gen was quite a bit of fun to drive, and so is this. And this has actually been fun to try out this week, because when I drove the SR in Arizona, it was just on like long, flat, empty highways where I couldn't really go around a corner. So this has kind of validated that this chassis is still dialed in on this car. Not that that really matters for most people, but in some situations, it's nice to be able to hustle when there aren't people blocking your corner. The 2-liter screams, but it's not really super buzzy or drony. I don't have like a crazy amount of intrusion here. Let's see those fake downshifts in sport mode. You guys can see my turnaround for the winding road videos. I always stop and do my acceleration right here. But let's get this off the line and see how it does a 0 to 60. There it is, and my butt tells me that that's about 8.5 seconds to 60. We'll time it in the video and see what it actually was. Okay, and there's your performance section in the new 9th gen Nissan Sentra. Not a needed bit of the video, but you know, valuable consumer information. So now that we've ruined our MPG, it's just gotten it under 28. We've put 130 miles on this car this week, and yesterday it was still averaging over 30, and then I went and filmed some videos on it, and now it's completely spoiled. But I do bet, honestly, that this is gonna be good for its 32 MPG EPA estimate. I have no reason to suspect that it wouldn't hit that, because the retuningness, that's not a word, the retuned nature of the CVT does keep this revved very low at most times. Let's see, if you just take off like a normal person, it's really not revving itself over 3,000 RPM. And you've got just enough torque to be able to get up to speed in a very regular fashion here with this Nissan Sentra. You do have quite a bit of wind noise, and we'll talk more about that once we're on the highway here in a second. We'll get this up to 75, 80 miles an hour. But you got to remember, there are some aspects of the car that remind you that it is the second cheapest sedan currently available to purchase, which is crazy, by the way. I feel like just 2 years ago we were in the Nissan Versa, which was like $18,000, and that was the cheapest in the USA. Now the cheapest is the Kia K4, which is well over 20 grand at 23,000. In fact, it's only like $200 cheaper than a Sentra. Or it might even be less. It might be like $20. I know it's a very negligible amount of money difference between the base K4 and the base Sentra. So this is just about as cheap as you can get. The Hyundai Venue is over 20,000 as well. So there are no longer any cars in the US brand new that are under 20 grand. It's a sad year. Otherwise though, if you can get past the wind noise in here, which you can if you turn up the Bose sound system, which we'll do once we get off the highway, it's actually quite all right in this cabin. The tailor-fit seat is very comfortable. It's got lumbar support that I can go up, down, in, and out with. Wow, and that is quite nice. I can't speak for the passenger seat because I haven't sat over there. Oh, it's manual. I can feel the adjuster. So the driver gets all of the luxury as far as seats go in here, but you get all the adjustment you need. I think the seating position is low enough down. I don't really desire to sit lower in this car. And I've got about that much headroom up here at 5'11" too. So all dimensions in this are pretty much okay. The only thing I don't like is that this console intrudes a bit on the driver. You can see it does actually angle a little bit towards the driver's footwell, which means my leg is constantly resting on it. Nissan has at least padded this, so when your leg is resting on it, it's not up against a sharp piece of plastic or something. But I think maybe this console could have been a little bit more intelligently designed for driver comfort, especially since everything else is so nice. You've got really nice plush surfaces for your elbows on this center console, which is also super deep that we mentioned, and then not quite as soft here on the driver's door panel, but it still does the trick. So I'm pretty happy with just sitting in this car. I think this would be okay for a road trip. You'd get good MPGs and you'd be pretty cozy. Visibility out of this is okay. I can't see a ton out of the back window just because it's kind of slanted down, but whatever, it does okay. The mirror is pretty cheap as well. You know, we don't have any auto dimming or anything. It's just an old-fashioned mirror like I have on my 2009 Chevy Cobalt SS. Side view mirrors are okay. You can see the haunches out the sides there, the nice design elements through the rear doors. And then since this is the SL, we have standard Pro Pilot Assist, which will be hitting its brakes for this Bronco Sport. So this right now is just on adaptive cruise mode, but you can also turn on your steering assist. I think they have room for that. They could have put that on the steering wheel instead of having you reach down there for it, but I suppose that isn't really something that you're turning on and off a ton if you're just an owner of this car. You're probably just one or the other. No real complaints with Pro Pilot. It seems to do just fine, but this still does the really annoying Nissan thing where when you turn cruise control off, it leaves the cruise control menu up and you have to go back through the menus here to get yourself back to your trip computer. Anyway, though, I think the only nice thing about pretty much every cheap car right now, I can't speak to the Hyundai Venue because I haven't driven one in a few years, but the Chevy Trax, the Nissan Sentra, and the Kia K4, none of them feel like penalty boxes. Like this car, and again, I can't speak to the S, but remember guys, the S is only $4,000 cheaper than this starting, so it can't be that much worse. There's no way that it feels like a prison cell. And I think that's important for a cheap car because a cheap car is never going to be something that's your dream car. I don't think the Nissan Sentra is anyone's dream car. So if you're buying this, you just want something that's going to last, that's going to be reliable, and is going to be comfortable. And I think that they've really kind of nailed this with the amenities and the overall comfort of this car. It does feel nice for being available under $30,000. So I didn't mean to wrap the video up this early. We have more to do still. But I think this SL trim is probably the one to get over the SR. SR would be my last choice. Even though there's a dealership right now, and I don't know where the dealership is, but they're making like a Nismo Sentra type thing where they put like a catback exhaust on it and like they lower it and they put different wheels, which is pretty cool because the car does look cool with the SR body kit. I just think that, like, what's the point? Get an SL, get it in beige, and just drive around like a grandma and be efficient. Inputs here are okay. I think the brake pedal is fine. You do sometimes get a little bit of lurchiness with the initial tip in with the throttle, but I've kind of learned not to do that now. My foot has learned, but the first, I don't know, 5 or 10 takeoffs I did with this car, it was a little bit lurchy. This is a painful exit right now. Absolutely terrible. Oh, look at that poor Dodge Dart back there. It's lost its entire face. So this CVT does a good job, like we said, staying revved very low, and that was a good example getting off the highway there. Once I had my speed is down and now I'm accelerating. It's staying under 2,000 RPM. Check it out. Passing the gas station reminds me, this has about a 12.5 gallon fuel tank, but I think that's all right when your average fuel economy is over 30 mpg. You're still looking at well over 300 miles of usable range. We've got a little bit of a flurry going on as we enter downtown. We're going to stop at the grocery store up here. I've got to grab some eggs and maybe a box of strawberries. It's going to be a very small trip. I don't know if there are bag hangers in the trunk, but we'll check once we get back out. But in a city setting like this car is very easy to drive. It's easy to be comfortable in this. This size of car is really what 90 might be a high number, but I want to say like 90% of people, this is really all the car you need. Like, this pretty much does everything. We'll get this pulled in here, and since it's a small car, I'm going to go over here and we'll be able to squeeze this into a spot with no problem. We've gotten so much snow here lately that my corner spot has been occupied by snow for quite a while, but that's okay. We'll back in here next to this Ford Focus, and I'm going to be able to do this still and have quite a bit of help because we have this 360 camera getting in here right in front of the snow pile. We'll put our parking brake on. Wipers aren't super loud. All right, let's shut this off. It will play us out again, and we'll see what this looks like in a parking spot. This is actually a pretty good demonstration of how small cars have gotten even bigger, because look how small this Ford Focus is in comparison. But you can see fits in the spot no problem, and if this didn't have a bunch of snow right here, I would have been able to back it in even further. But all right, I'm going to go into the store, grab a couple of things, and we'll finish out our drive into town and wrap this one up. Walking back up to the Sentra with our singular bag of groceries, it should unlock, and it has. But if you want to be able to get into the back, you have to come up here and hit the unlock button, and you can do that. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have pulled up right up to the snow here, but I want to see if there's bag hangers back here. I don't see any, so we're not going to use that. We'll just throw our bag right here behind the driver's seat. That's the easiest. It's literally eggs and strawberries, so not anything that's going to roll around. Okay. Let's start this up. Always the most satisfying sweep after the car's been sitting outside. Wet windshield. Okay, we're going to do a sound system test as we pull out of here, and we'll get this into the city. Now you guys, I don't know if you can hear this or not, but what I was on about earlier with the constant static after you turn the music off, I don't think you'll be able to hear it over the other NVH of the car. Look at that! Porsche 911 out in a blizzard. Anyway, sound system is actually pretty dang good, and Nissan doesn't really mess around with these Bose systems. They are usually quite powerful. The story's no different here in the Sentra, and even with this being a prototype, this sounds like a very finished sound system. So kudos to them, and I would say it does sound a bit better than the Harman Kardon that you get in the Kia K4. So this may be one of the best sound systems available under $30,000. So good job, Nissan, there. Here comes this Porsche again. I love that. Oh, look at his plate. I feel like we've seen this guy before, like in the rain or in the snow or something. If anyone remembers if we've seen this car before in another Topher Drives video, please find it. What a guy. Oh, it's a manual too. Oh, he's reading something. He's got a book out reading. Oh, I love just eccentric Porsche drivers. One day, if I'm ever a millionaire, that'll be what I'm driving in the winter as well. But in the meantime, here you go, Nissan Sentra. Good daily driver, and I think that's really what this boils down to is what we talked about on the end of the highway section on how this car, it doesn't feel like a penalty box, and it does everything that it needs to do. This car isn't really a want car, it's a need car. And we have to have those. They're important. Not everyone's a car enthusiast, and this does a really good job of just being car. You guys know that I like to say that when a car is just good at doing what it has to do, and I think this is one of those. Do I prefer having a CVT? No. Would I like maybe some more horsepower? Yes. But most people don't really care about that stuff, and I think the way that they've tuned all of this for the 9th gen is quite nice. Do I know the long-term reliability of this Xtronic CVT? No, I don't. Is the reputation good on these? No, it isn't, but maybe they've done something else. They've sprinkled some secret fairy dust in this new version of the CVT that's going to make it last longer. The only thing I will say is that Nissan is kind of getting away from CVTs. We see in the Murano that now has a 9-speed automatic. I suppose everything else, though, has a CVT. So the Murano, the Armada, and the Z, are those the only cars? Oh, I guess the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder has a regular transmission, too. So over half of the lineup, I suppose, has regular torque converter automatics. But these cheaper cars, they don't. And especially now with there being no option for a manual transmission, that's a bit of a bummer. But, you know, it's a Nissan Sentra. It's a sub-$30,000 car, and it's pretty nice for what it is. So good job, Nissan. They're good at making a cheap car. I'll give them that. That is really what they're best at. And now with the Versa being gone, this is the cheapest Nissan you can buy. I need to get my hands on an S. I need to go visit my friends at Nissan of Canton and get a new Sentra S and see what that's like. So comment below if you would like to see other trims of this. We've done the SR, now we've done the SL. There's only 2 missing that we have to do, the S and the SV. So let me know if you guys have any interest in seeing those. But I think this probably represents about 80% of what the S is. You know, or I should say the S only has, or what am I saying? The S probably only lacks about 20% of what this car is. I don't know, whatever I'm trying to say right now. You guys get the gist. But let's get this turned into downtown. Steering weight here is just about ideal, and we talked more about this in the SR video, but I think it's light enough. Also, one last main thing that I forgot to talk about earlier, and this is actually being added in from after I got done recording the video, but ride quality is fantastic, and it's better here than it was in the SR, I assume because we have a 17-inch wheel, a little bit more sidewall. But I think just the fact that I forgot to mention it earlier should tell you that it's quite nice. It's pretty supple. It does sometimes feel a little bit busy, but I would say for the most part, it does a great job soaking all of this stuff up. You can see how horrible these roads are right now, and I have not been uncomfortable from the ride quality or the quality of this seat. Let's get this pulled in here. Maneuverability, obviously, no problem whatsoever.
Please select an event. Welcome. Please.
Perfect height to grab a ticket. And check this out, you guys can see the ambient lighting. Ooh, and there's an E92 M3. don't know what I'm doing with my turn signal right now. There's only one way I can go. Just habit, I suppose. Lots of good cars out today in the snow. Including this, look at that, that's an Accord Type R. Very rare car. You can see they angled the badge up on these some, and they added that little bit of arrow. All right, we'll stop car spotting and we'll wrap this up. We are actually going to do a night drive on this car as well, just because I think these two little bits of ambient lighting give me an excuse to do it. So there will be one more video on this car. It might even be the next video that comes out. So stay tuned for that if you want even more impressions on this. But I think we've pretty much summed this car up by now. And you guys know I like a cheap car. I like reviewing base models. I like things that are available to the masses that don't feel horrendous. You know, this is not a Mitsubishi Mirage. And I really do think it's a shame that like more manufacturers aren't making small cars anymore. Like I just drove by a Toyota Yaris. There's no Yaris anymore. There's no Versa. There's no Mirage. There's no Honda Fit. So this is kind of your choice now. If you want something brand new with a warranty that you can go to the dealership, unzip as they say, this is it. So that's been the 2026 Nissan Sentra SL in Imperial Bronze with tailor fit seats. Look at that Focus wagon. Oh, how's he come from this way? Anyway, let's get this thing onto the roof, which looks like it's open. Is this ice? This is very slippery. Oh, this is this is a skating rink up here today. Okay, I'm gonna have to be careful when I get out of the car. ABS test? Okay, I guess it's not slippery over here. So we'll end over here. I think this is right where we ended the Ford Fusion video. So there you go, guys. A car starting at $27,900 and something dollars. We'll have that all in the description. But let's give you one last look here. And this isn't horribly slippery. Okay. The latest car from Nissan. So let me know what you guys think. Do you prefer the old 8th gen over this? Do you like the 9th gen? What's your favorite generation of Nissan Sentra overall? I have a lot to drive still. I've only done the 8th and 9th. I would like to drive as many cars as possible on Topher drives. Anyway, we're getting distracted again, but that's going to wrap this up for us today. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.